You want me to tell you the truth? I'm a little jealous of all of you. You probably haven't seen this game in your life because it's a really hard one to find. But experiencing this game for the first time is really worth it, and it's a feeling you'll never be able to repeat. In my case, since I've already seen it, I'm going to enjoy it a lot, sure, but not as much as I did the first time. Do you know which game I'm talking about? The Peruvian Immortal, a short game that represents one of Peru's most brilliant victories. Let me take this chance to say something. If you're watching me from Peru, because I know I have several Peruvian followers, let me know down in the comments. Let's see if by any chance in this video, there's a Peruvian, right? Watching it from home. Also, if you want, you can tell me in the comments where you're watching this video or these videos from, because it makes me really happy to see that this channel is reaching so many corners of the world. I'm gonna check the comments later to see where you're writing from. Let's enjoy this game where the Scandinavian defense was played. How many times have we talked about this defense on the channel? Both how to play with white and how to play with black. In this case, the Scandinavian defense has something very important that all of you should know. It gives away the initiative. Why? Because when you capture the pawn, the queen has to come out, and black is giving up quite a bit of initiative. Now then, how can we take advantage of this by developing a minor piece, like the knight on c3, while attacking the queen? I'm going to leave the pieces here so you can keep track of a count at all times, right? You've asked me for this a lot in the comments. Alright, so what's the idea here for black? Well, if you're loyal followers of the channel and you studied several lines, you'll know there were three main moves there. Queen to d6, queen to d8, and queen to a5, which is the one played in the game, and honestly, it's probably my favorite. A lot of you are probably thinking, can't they check us both on e5 and e6? Well, that would be a bad idea, but I'll explain it very simply. If they try to give us a check, let's say here, we just block with the bishop and we have two pieces developed, while our opponent doesn't have any, since the queen doesn't count as a developed piece. And not only that, but we're going to play knight to f3, attacking the queen, and we're going to castle, while our opponent will have to move the queen again, is nowhere near castling, and this game would be way too comfortable for us. You get it, right? That's why here the correct move is queen to a5. Now that I'm thinking about the game, I can assure you it's gonna fascinate you. It's impressive. Alright, the game continues with the logical d4. Doesn't this move make perfect sense? It simply puts a pawn in the center. You already know how important it is to control the center, especially these four squares right here. We place a pawn and prevent our opponent from occupying that spot, because the d pawn can't come anymore. It just can't because it's not there. And the e pawn can't come either because we would simply capture it. We'd capture it, and even if the queen comes, we'd be in the same situation as before. Remember? Bishop e2 and all that. Therefore, we occupy the center. The game continues with c6, probably the move I recommend, because if you start developing this knight over here and all that, this queen can end up a bit trapped and could become a target for attack with bishop e2 and discovered attacks with the knight. So c6 is a very good move, which allows you to retreat the queen whenever necessary. Very good. So the game continued with knight f3, developing both knights, and the player with the black pieces played bishop g4 to pin this knight. For all of you who like to know more details about the game, this is a simultaneous exhibition game. You know what a simultaneous exhibition is, right? A master, in this case the player with the white pieces, played this game against, well, played several games at once against different boards, and this was one of them, right? Alright, here are knights being penned, but actually we're not being threatened by anything, because it's true that this knight can't move, but they can't threaten it with any piece either. Normally, you threaten with the knight, but this knight can't come in, thanks to the control we have over the center. You see how important it is to control the center? Very good. So many of you might think here, I want to get out of the pin with bishop to e2. Well, it wouldn't be a bad move, but maybe now it would be a bit too passive. We could play, for example, bishop to c4, a good move, or in this case, what the master actually played, which was bishop to f4. The game continued with e6. Okay, I'm going to give you a tip. Do you see that most of black's pawns are on white squares? So we can figure out that black's good bishop is this one here. Why? Because the pawns don't get in its way. Do you see it? It can go wherever it wants without being blocked by the pawns. So this is the good bishop, and this is the bad bishop. That's why here, when the master plays h3, threatening the bishop, a good idea is usually to trade off the bad bishop. Therefore, here the player with the black pieces doesn't hesitate for a second and trades their bad bishop for a knight. You understand this? Now this bishop won't be bothered anymore by its own pawns and will simply be left with the good bishop. Obviously, capturing with a pawn would be a very bad move because you would end up with two isolated and doubled pawns, which is really harsh, especially when there are still queens on the board, because you can put a lot of pressure on them. If you saw the game I uploaded yesterday or the day before, I can't quite remember, you saw that the player with the black pieces ended up losing precisely because of doubled pawns like these. Queen takes on f3 then is the move. Ah, damn, for crying out loud. I'm about to break the bishop here. Sorry about that. Queen takes on f3. And now there are a ton of possible moves here, right? Knight to f6, bishop to e7, bishop to b4, putting pressure on the knight to d7. And the player with the black pieces goes for this one here, bishop to b4. Well, this is something I typically see among amateurs, okay? I'm not saying it's a bad move. However, amateurs always want to attack this knight while threatening certain pins, whether it's against the king or the queen. As you can see, the player with the black pieces first did it with this bishop and now with the other one. It's really not the best option, okay? And you'll see that there's not much left in this game now. Now comes the truly brilliant part, and I'm completely convinced that if you've never seen it before, you're gonna find it impressive. Don't worry, I'm gonna give you some time to think, in case you want to figure out the solution on your own, okay? The idea here is that this pin is bothering us. Not for now. Why? For the same reason as before. They can't come and threaten this knight because the knight on f6 still isn't developed, so it can't come to d5 to put pressure. Now then, I'm sure many of you are thinking, if black wants to now, they can take this knight, check, the queen comes to capture so as not to double pawns, but the black queen can recapture the queen, and then we'd be forced to double our pawns. And on top of that, when both doubled pawns have their partner, in this case the d pawn advanced, they're even worse, because no one can defend them from their adjacent files. So should I defend this hate? No. Let me explain, and this is a trick you can use in your own games. Doubled pawns aren't so dangerous when there are no queens on the board, okay? And even more, I'm going to tell you something better, because what I just told you has some nuances, but there's something even more important here. Doubled pawns, in this case, wouldn't matter to us so much, because we'd be heading into an endgame, once the queens are traded, of two knights versus two bishops. And the pair of bishops is always better than two knights when there's pawn mobility. What I just told you might sound boring to many of you, like, come on, chess teacher, you're telling me a lot of unnecessary stuff, but it's a trick that can save you a lot of games. Remember this well, okay? The pair of bishops is always better than the pair of knights when there's pawn mobility, alright? Therefore, here, the player with the black pieces, after this bishop to e2, because white doesn't bother defending this knight, and now we know why, instead of capturing it, very wisely, plays the simple move, knight to d7. Pay attention, because here comes the important part. So if you're doing two things at once, give 100% of your attention to what I'm about to say now. Pay close attention to this. 3. Probably, here, the player with the black pieces thought, well, here the master played a 3, threatening the bishop, but he's really not threatening anything. Why? Because if he takes my bishop, I simply take the rook. You get it? This rook is undefended, so this bishop isn't really being attacked. If he takes my bishop, I take the rook, check, and then you'll have to block because if you move your king, I'll take your other rook, right? And this looks terrible. So here, the player with the black pieces says, well, I'm obviously not going to move the bishop, so what will I do? Well, I'll castle. It doesn't seem like a bad move at all. We probably, right? To see the look on the black player's face when the master came to his table, saw that he had castled, and then played a takes b4 and took the bishop. Huh. Just ignoring everything and completely giving away the rook on a 1. How can this be, chess teacher? Well, pay attention because this was brilliant. Probably, here the player with the black pieces thought, surely what the master wants to do is castle, and since the rooks are connected, threaten my bishop. But when he took the bishop directly, then he didn't hesitate for even a second, thinking that since it was a simul, he left the rook hanging and took the rook on a one with check. And the surprise had only just begun, because after this check, instead of covering with the bishop to d1 or with the knight to d1 to avoid losing the other rook, the master played king to d2, giving away the other rook as well, sacrificing both rooks and placing his king in the center of the board. How can this be? See, if you had never seen this game before, it was definitely going to excite you. Give me a big, like, because the best part is still to come, the grand finale. Let's see, here the queen is under threat and doesn't have any good squares to retreat to. Here it's covered by the knight, on a 3 it's covered by the pawn, on a 4 by the knight, on a 5 by the pawn, and on a 6 by the bishop. Do you know what this means? It means the master is forcing the black pieces to capture the other rook. There's no other way. Do you see it? So they're forced to capture both rooks. And now, if you want, you can pause the video to find the final move, which is beautiful. If you don't want to, don't worry, because I'm going to tell you right now. Are you ready? Pay close attention, okay? The final move was the following. Queen takes c6. Not only did he give away both rooks, but now he gives away the queen too. How can this be, my friends? Because now, after the only possible move, b takes c6, since there's no other way to escape the check because the bishop covers the dark diagonal, he has to take the queen. Once it's captured, the other bishop comes in on a 6, and the pair of bishops delivers this beautiful checkmate, without rooks and without the queen. What did you think? Spectacular or not? It gives me goosebumps. Just so you know, right now, we're working on something super interesting that's going to give you even more goosebumps than this game, and it's coming out this week, so stay tuned to the channel. In the meantime, while you wait, you can try out the app I use to practice all my tricks, to train my openings, do puzzles, and 1,000 other things. It's the app developed by Grandmaster Mauricio Flores, one of the most influential grandmasters in modern chess, without a doubt. I'll leave the link for you right down here in the description so you can try it out. The app is completely free, and of course, it also has paid plans for those of you who really like it and want to explore a bit more, but you can try it out totally free. So, I hope you really enjoyed this game. Stay tuned this week because something is coming that you're gonna love, especially for those of you who really value chess training, because you'll see that what I've managed to get for you is truly spectacular. And as always, my friends, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.